be with you guys in a second. I'm gonna give everybody a couple minutes to join. If you're watching this on replay, skip ahead. Just gonna I made a post earlier though about when to at least when I decide whether if I'm gonna put I'll just say some eBay selling strategies. I'll just talk about some eBay selling strategies, some things that I do, what I look for as far as when I want to put something up for auction, or buy it now, or buy it now with best offer. So I'm gonna dig into all of that a little bit. I'm gonna try to keep it simple, and you guys can kind of, if you sell on eBay, you can play around with it. But a lot of it has to do with a customer base that you've built. So if you haven't been selling for a very long time, you don't have a huge customer base. I shouldn't even say huge. Like, I should say at least a dedicated customer base. If you got a bunch of regulars or whatever, then a lot of this will definitely work for you and with how you sell. Because a lot of this has to do with, basic economics, supply, demand, what's available, and how hungry the market is. It's basically what it is, and how fast you want to get rid of something versus are you willing to sit on it for a little bit longer, just to squeeze all every cent you can out of it, to try to get every cent you can out of whatever book you're either trying to flip or get press equity out of. But anyway, so I've got a decent audience here built up, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So first thing I want to talk about is eBay, right? So we've all sell on eBay. That's how I got started. Before I started selling on my own website that I put together, I was selling on eBay, just trying to get, just regular customers. That's like the best strategy you can do if you're trying to seriously run a business, is try to get regular customers. They're going to keep your business alive. That's just business 101. So once you kind of, you get a handful of people of regulars that at least follow you, not even necessarily buy from you, right? So on eBay, if you look on eBay, that if you go to your profile, you can see, just like on Facebook or Instagram or any social media platform, even on eBay, people follow you. And if your buyers on eBay watching this, you're like, yeah, idiot, you're telling me I do this. I'm following you, so you'll need, But some people don't, so I'm just gonna kind of touch on everything. So if you're selling on eBay, you want to try to build up your followers just like anything else, Instagram, Facebook, anything like that. And one way that I like to do is, see, Ryan Comics Guy, I was actually chatting with him about this. He was asking me some auction questions on the side. Why, just a couple of different reasons why I like to do auctions. First off, it gets rid of inventory. That's first and foremost. Like, if you look at any kind of basic economics, like, sitting on inventory as a business owner will cost you money. You're better off, even if your margins aren't as where you would like them to be, just by getting products out there, getting auctions out there, getting people to follow your auctions. You're building value. So when you're starting off early, you want to look into value, and value isn't always equated into sales, right? Value, you can be value for what I'm doing right here. I'm bringing value to you guys, right? I'm trying to give you some advice here on how you can probably some strategies you can use to build your client base. So I use auctions for that. It's a huge thing. I throw them out there. I try to use a variety of books in my auctions too. Like, I try to use like Andes, I try to use Hawk, Venoms, just like anything that's like a big seller and has like a huge like following. It's good to do that because you're going to get people, you want to get eyes on your auction, right? If you don't get eyes on your auction, you're going to lose money. And sometimes it's worth losing money because you might get a customer, you don't get, say you sell a book that's like $50, for $50, right? But it's like, people are selling it for like $85, $90 on eBay with buy it now, and they're selling it, but for some reason your auction didn't get that, and I'll explain that later. But for some reason your auction didn't get that, and it only sold for $50, right? Don't consider that a loss. That $50 auction that you might have gotten might bring you a customer that's going to spend hundreds of dollars with you, thousands of dollars with you. You don't know. You don't know until you do those auctions. But that's one thing I use auctions for, is to get people to see my brand, to find me. It's just another source of advertising, is what I consider it. So I'll throw cheap books out there. I know they're going to sell for probably like $20 to $30 on the auction, but I don't care. I'll take the loss. And I see a lot of new people buying from me. So to me, it's worth it. It's because then I've got another potential customer who's going to come back and buy more from me. So I don't really care about that $10, $15, $20 I lost in that one book. You'll make it up later. So that's one type of book I like to throw on eBay. It's just something that is popular. If you guys see me, like pretty much every auction I have like some version of a Mortal Hawk, like either Mortal Hawk 15 or Mortal Hawk 16, some kind of a Mortal Hawk, because there's so many people out there collecting them and looking for them. And if you're selling things people are looking for, then they're gonna find you. So cheap books that will sit and buy it now, and it's like super competitive. Like if the market's so saturated, like if you go and actually look, go on eBay, go look at a Mortal Hawk 16 CGCs. The buy it nows are going to be super low. They're going to be between like $35, $40, if that. And when my auctions end, they might end at $25 to $30. But I don't care. Again, I'm gonna get somebody who likes to buy Hulk books. Hulk is released twice a week, right? It's twice a month. I mean, so you're gonna get a customer that likes Hulk, and they're gonna buy from you at least twice a month, right? So that's the goal with those kinds of books, is just customer acquisition. The other type of book, and this is kind of what started the thing, is the post I made on Instagram earlier was the Momoko, the Spider-Gwen to Momoko ratio variant. Now, one thing I do is after I send my books off to CGC for grading, I like to watch the market on them, especially on the ratios, because ratios are where you can actually hit it pretty big when they get hot. And this one is actually pretty hot. So it was pretty, first off, Momoko in general, for some reason, Peach Momoko is just blazing hot right now. Can't hold on to anything that Peach Momoko does. So so when I get the books back from CGC, and I'm sending them out, and I'm shipping them out to you guys, I get extras, and then once I get the extras, I'll re-look them up and see what the market's going for. And then that's normally what I list them at, you know, depending on what the market conditions are. So with this Peach Momoko book in general, so if you go on eBay right now, you will see a handful of ungraded ones. I think is less than 10. I want to say it's between 5 and 8 maybe, and they're all over the ratio, the normal ratio standard price, right? So a 1 in 25, most retailers, they'll sell a 1 in 25 for somewhere between $25 and $35, depending on what the cover price is, right? So like a 1 in 25 of a book that's $5.99 is going to be probably closer to $35, because the cost of the book to qualify is going to be more expensive. But I think this one was just Ghost Spider 2. It was just a regular, I think, a $3.99 title, right? But if you go look on eBay right now, all of those books, all the listings are above the $25 to $35 mark. And then even the lower ones, they're pretty beat up, because it was actually not a great print run. I'm very lucky to even get one extra to grade out. So the marketing conditions are there. So you've got a ratio that is selling above its normal, like what you would normally see. Like, so if you go, even a book that was released last week, just find a 1 in 25 that was released last week, and you look it up. Say like New Mutants 1 in 25. I mean, I was selling this for $10 on a special, right? Because I didn't pre-sell any of those before cutoff, but I had a bunch because I sold a bunch of the 1 in 50s and 1 in 100s. So when I got all my books in for release week, I saw that these weren't selling, so I marked them down to $10. And I bet you right now on eBay, they're $10 right now. So that's obviously not a good one to use right now. But this Peach Momoko one is, and so that one is and so the other thing I look at is, are there any current, like, what would be my competition, right? Like, if I put up a book right now, are there any other CGC 9.8s in this book right now? And there's two. There's actually two, and they're vastly overpriced. So if you go and look on eBay right now, they're still in there. They're not going to sell at the price that they're at. They're just not. So I think they're all over. I think they're close to $300 or over $300, something ridiculous. Because the ungraded ones, while selling above average, or what they're normally at after release at this point, weeks later, while they're still holding value and have a little bit of extra value in them, they're not $300 books in 9.8. That's just highway robbery. And I wouldn't feel like, if I sold a book at that much, like, I would have to throw in a bunch of freebies or something, just because of my conscience. But anyway, so they're up at like $300. So right here is perfect. This is the perfect storm, right? So you got all the ingredients, and in one of my other videos I like to talk about, like, baking cupcakes, right? You can have all the ingredients, but you got to have it cook right. It's got to cook right. So and I think this is going to cook right, because what I find is, after I sell out of books, people hit me up on the side, send me emails, DMs and stuff, and I get an idea as far as what the market demand is for this book. So what I'm seeing is, I've got a lot of demand on my side. I'm seeing books moving off at eBay at higher than its ratio price. I'm seeing overpriced CGC variants on there. So right there, if you throw, especially since the CGC ones, the established, the ones that are out there for buy it now, since they're so much higher than the market, if I put it up for auction, I would guess it would probably sell for above $200. I would probably say it'd sell between $200 and $225. Just as a guesstimate, just from my experience of selling books, putting them up for auction at this point in its life cycle. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to list it. I'm going to put it up for sale. And then there's actually another one. There's a Dr. Doom. Though I have one actually listed of these to buy it now on the website for $1.99. But I'm actually going to list on auction the other Dr. Doom, because for some reason everybody was all over Dr. Doom #1. I sold a ton of it, and it looks like the Ditko, the 1/100 Ditko, I didn't pre-sell any of those because I only got 2 copies. You know, I like to have 3 copies of a book before I'll pre-sell a 9.8, just because you got about a 30% shot of getting a decent copy that you can actually press out to grade out. So that's just kind of my general rule of thumb. For every one CGC 9.8 I pre-sell, I order 3 copies for. Every once in a while you get hit with a Marvel print run where it's just like a nightmare, and you need like 10 for everyone. Like, it's been less than 10% on some books, where Black Cat 1, Archer, Silver Surfer Black 1, all those print runs, especially the ones at the beginning of the summer, like Marvel June, end of May, beginning of June. Anyways, I'm going off on the end. I digress. Let's get back on track. So so basically, so I'll throw it up there. It'll probably go between 200 and 225. Just guesstimating. But so and if you're good with that, then fine. If you want to, if you're in my position and you're like, well, there's dudes listing them for 300. If I put it on 250, like, it'll probably go fast, and it might. There might be somebody out there who's just looking for a deeper discount versus what's already out there, and they'll snatch it up pretty quickly, you know, in my experience. So I did want to touch on this though. Somebody asked me about buy it now, and I do it sometimes. I don't do it all the time. I know people, like, generally I don't like to haggle, just as a rule of thumb, because a lot of times my prices are already either at market price or even slightly below market price, so I really don't have any room to move off of it. I try to price my stuff fair, just because I think moving books faster at a fair price is going to get people coming back faster because of a fairer price. I know you guys have all walked up to this booth right at a convention, right? And you ask about like 3 books. And all 3 books are super overpriced. Are you gonna look at the 4th book? Or are you gonna stick around to look at a 5th or 6th book? You're gonna walk away from the booth. I've done it. We've all done it, right? So it's always good to have your stuff priced at a reasonable, you want to make your margins, but don't focus on your margins, especially in this business. Like I said, this business is all about trying to get the customer to come back. And a lot of that's offering the fair price. And that's what I do. So that's why I don't really like to haggle on the side. But to get back, as far as sometimes I do use buy it now, but when I use buy it now, I always set a minimum or an auto reject on it, right? Because you're gonna get low ballers that are come in and they're gonna waste your time. Like I don't even, like if I have something up for buy it now, if you come in at half the value just because you want me to come down, whatever, like I'm just gonna be like, no, I'm just gonna reject it, come back, something higher at least, and I might counter. But a lot of times, and I shouldn't tell you this, but a lot of times I'll have an auto accept low value bid too. Like, so if I got a book listed for 75, I might have an auto accept at 65, but an auto reject set at like 55. So if it comes in between 55 and 65, something where I don't really want to accept it, I might, just as a negotiating tactic, counter and try to get you to counter back to at least that level that I have set. But if you do set that auto accept, at least it takes away some of that work and the hassle of haggling, which is why I don't really like to haggle. It's like I've got a bazillion other things going on. I don't really, I'd like to sell books, but I don't really have the time to go back and forth on a price of a single book. So, but it does come in handy. And a lot of books that I do use buy it now is if I have a bunch of books, like if I submitted a book expecting like a lot to be rejected and get a lot to come back, I will probably throw some on it with buy it nows just to get rid of them fast. So buy it nows will sell books a lot faster with the best offer. If you just set it up buy it now, you're gonna have to wait for that one buyer that's willing to pay that price, and that's the beauty, right? So we're talking about auctions versus buy it now. So if you have an auction and you throw a book, right? You throw a book up on an auction and you're like, man, my sales goal for this book is $75. Well, you have to find two people, not one, but two people willing to pay $75 for it, right? Because they have to bid against each other. Because if you find one guy that's wants it for, will go up 75, but your second highest bidder only wants to go to 50, your book's going to sell for 51. So you need those two buyers, not just the one. So keep that in mind, and that goes back, that ties back just kind of Tarantino. I know some of you guys joined late. If you Tarantino and go back towards the beginning when I was talking about building up before you start doing auctions, building up your followers on eBay, that'll help get your auction goals met, because you're going to have more eyes on your product. You have more people bidding against each other, so you're more than likely going to get two people that are going to want to meet your sales goal price of an item. That's why, if you guys know, I send out on days that my auctions end, I post that my auctions are ending a couple times, once, usually twice. I usually send out one email campaign item on it, because I want everybody that buys from me to look at them and bid against each other. I want competition. That's what creates a healthy market, competition. If people aren't competing, then the products are going to go, they're not going to sell, and then they're going to quit being made or whatever. Companies are going to go out of business, and companies are going to die. So competition is what keeps everything going. So keep that in mind. So when you're running auctions, you're going to need two people. Buy it now, just the one. Now, how patient are you? That's another thing you want to think about, is if you're willing to sit on something for a long time because you have X amount of dollars invested in it and you're so determined to get whatever price you want out of it, like, that's fine. But keep an eye on your competition, because you'll get undercut constantly, and books will sell faster. But if it's a healthy market, you actually may want to price it higher, right? Because if the book is growing in value, and I learned this lesson earlier, right? 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, before Fantastic Four, and I've told this story before if you guys watch this live session, my live sessions regularly. I've told this story before. There was a Fantastic Four 48 that was for sale. It was an 8.5. GPA had it at 2650. the guy wanted 2,800, and I wouldn't really budge off of it, mainly because one, GPA said it was 2,650. So I'm like, this is market value, right? 2,650. And the other thing was I only had about $2,700 in PayPal credit to use, so that was the other thing. But but I justified not buying it by saying, well, it's not the market price. I don't want to pay over market price. What do you think about my decision today? I mean, I think that's close to a $40,000, well, not a 40, but a $4,000 book. So, one thing you want to do, and this is kind of going off tangent, but this is just more of like if you're investing in what I call the blue chippers, overpay a little bit, because the value of the book's going up. You're gonna have to overpay versus what the last sale was, but don't be afraid to do it because you're not gonna lose money. And that's when you're using buy it now. If you know that the market, the value in it is growing, and people are gonna be willing to pay more, then price it ahead of whatever the market is and wait for it to hit whatever goal you want to set for it, and then sell it. If not, price it above and then put it on buy it now, because when you put it on buy it now, or not buy it now, but I keep saying that, but I mean, or best offer, right? Then you're gonna get offers coming in, especially if it's growing and growing and growing. And it also, when you get offers, take note of them. See what kind of offers you're getting. Seeing if over time they're getting higher or if they're getting lower. And then that'll let you know also where the market's shooting. So you're getting important market information on the value of whatever book you're trying to sell in real time. Because those offers aren't going to be recorded on GPA because they're not actual sales, but you're getting information that people looking for the book they're giving you information to use. And so you can adjust your price accordingly, or eventually accept an offer you'll like, or keep waiting if you see them coming. If you get all of a sudden get like 3 or 4 offers on a book in like a day that's been like dead for a while, that means some news kind of hit and the value is going to go up. So you may want to turn your or best offer off after you get that information and then increase your price. So those are just some things to think about. When you're trying to do buy it now versus or best offer. Personally, I don't really do or best offer unless I have a lot of a book and I'm just trying to move fast. Otherwise, I'll list it as buy it now, but lately I don't even mess with eBay, just because of the fees and the taxes and all that crap, and they shit on sellers. I'm not really a huge fan of selling on eBay. Like, if you look at my store now, it's like 75% just auctions, and I use just the auctions, just like I said before in the beginning of the video, is customer acquisition, right? There was a guy, like, back in my 10 years ago, back in my 20s, a long time ago, I had a really good conversation when SEO, search engine optimization, was like the thing back then, right? With Google AdWords and SEOs and all this and that, I had a conversation with a guy who was really successful about building new websites, building brands, and then selling the brands off. And he said the key to doing any kind of successful online business is to consume as much online real estate as possible. And if you guys ever, I don't know, there's got to be somebody else out there besides me that watches, listens, whatever. Gary V, he talks about that too. He's always talking about going into the other different platforms and this and that and this and that. And that's kind of how it was back in the day. So I kind of keep that in mind when I'm on eBay, especially since now that you've got, people can follow you. Just run a bunch of auctions, take hits on books, don't hemorrhage money, like break even. Don't care as much about the margins, because you're gonna get paid back later. You're gonna build your client base. Hopefully, they keep buying from you, and then then you'll see your auctions. Somebody asked the question in the Instagram post. I see these auctions getting bid up real high all the time, but that's the answer to it. Like, those sellers have a pretty strong following. Like, I think I have over 800 followers on my eBay store now. So when that happens, plus I have, I use the email campaigns. Like, a lot of you guys probably don't follow my eBay store, but you see when I post things to Instagram that my eBay auctions are ending, or you're on the mailing list and you see that I send an email and say, hey, auctions are ending in 5 minutes or in 20 minutes or whenever. then you guys all jump and bid against each other, and it drives the prices up. So, but that takes time to do, and it takes dedication. Like, I've been doing this on eBay for 3 years now. I've been doing it off the website, celebrityheroes.com, for not even a year. I think actually I seriously started doing celebrityheroes.com a year ago. So, and I ended up trying, a lot of you guys have been buying from me. I know that I sent you guys business cards, and I drew your attention over to my website, away from eBay, over to my website, so I could save the fees and everything like that. And not have to worry about dealing with eBay, getting in the middle of a transaction if a buyer's trying to pull one over on me, as far as trying to say I didn't send something or something like that. We've all seen the horror stories, I know. We've all been in those Facebook groups or whatever, and you see people talking about all this stuff, how they got screwed on eBay as a seller. And it happens both ways. Buyers and sellers get screwed, and it sucks. But those are market opportunities. You know, if somebody's screwing buyers out there, then that's just, it sucks for you guys. It sucks for buyers, but it's good for me, right? So if you guys, I'm done with this guy, I'm gonna go look for somebody else. They might stumble on one of my auctions, stumble on my website, stumble on my Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Then they're like, well, I'm gonna try this guy out, or even maybe some other business, right? Whoever. It doesn't have to be me. So it's good. But eBay is just a hassle. I know a lot of you guys selling it. So anyways, I've rambled enough. I touched a little bit on what I would auction off versus buy it now versus or best offer. So I don't know if you guys got any questions for me, as far as you've got a certain scenario. Would you rather buy it now or auction it or put up best offer? I know there's like a 15-second or 20-second delay versus me talking and you asking and me seeing it. So I'm trying to filibuster a little bit until I start seeing questions pop up down here in the chat below. Anybody got questions? Yeah, a lot of people joining still. Hey guys that just joined. People that just joined, I was just discussing, you might want to go back. I think I've been rambling for a good 20 minutes now. Feels like maybe 30, I don't know. I'm tired. It's been a long day. I've just been rambling about selling strategies on eBay. Okay, cool. Well, doesn't look like anybody had questions, at least anymore. If you do got a question, go ahead and ask it in that Spider-Gwen post that I put up this morning, because that's kind of where people have been asking questions. Oh, a question about a crash. Okay. Okay, man. Okay, now I'm getting all the questions. Okay, so the first question. Let me scroll back up. Okay, market crash. Market crash is funny. So here's what I have to say, right? People talk about, and I've seen it, you know, I'm in all of the same Facebook groups you guys are in. I'm lurking in there. And I see people talking about, complain about variant covers, exclusive, you know, retailer exclusives, and this and that and this and that, and it's going to be the 90s, you know, all over again. The market's going to crash and everything's going to suck. And no. Conditions are completely different, right? Market's not saturated right now. Market's growing, and I don't want to say it's like growing, like, because it's always going to be tied back to the main U.S. economy, right? Because you guys have to have jobs to make money to be able to spend on comic books. But and I've kicked this idea around, and I know people that I talk to about this are in the audience watching this. A new way. I think comics. First off, trying to think of the way. Okay, let me start like this. No, there's not going to be a crash, and here's why. First off, market conditions are different. Comic books aren't standalone anymore, right? I know in the 90s, I know in the 90s, you know, we had the X-Men cartoons, we had Batman Adventures, we had the Spider-Man cartoons, we had all kinds of stuff going on in the 90s. We even had X-Men movies in the 90s, right? With Halle Berry as Storm and all that stuff. But it was still different. It didn't seem like the books and the movies tied together the way they do today. And this little thing happened in the 2000s, late 2000s, called Netflix. And when that started happening, these other streaming providers started popping up. And all these streaming providers, they're now buying all this content, right? So now we got comic books, which was kind of like a subculture back in the day, right? Everybody that read comic books were geeks and nerds and whatever. Today, it's not so much the case. Now, pop culture is tied in with comic culture, right? So that's the first thing. I think the market's different. There's just way more people. It's way more diverse. It's not gonna happen. And even like companies like Marvel, they've got a lot of money. And Disney Plus that just came out, right? You know Marvel is going to be putting all kinds of comic book based content on Disney Plus. It's just a matter of time. They announced, how much did they announce just at SDCC this past year, right? So that first and foremost is why I don't think there's going to be a crash. There'll be, okay, I'll call it a recession maybe, but I don't think the repeat of the 90s, which I guess would be like the Great Depression version of comic books, right? I don't think that's going to happen again. That was a phenomenon. That's kind of, actually, I'm not going to get too economically geeky with you guys, but there's some parallels there that now I'm sitting here stewing on it a little bit between the market crash of 29 and the comic book. There's some similarities, but no, it's not going to be like that. I mean, there's definitely going to be slow times, because if the U.S. economy slows down and consumers don't have the money to spend like they do now in an economy that seems to be doing at least all right, if not growing, it's going to slow down considerably. And then that's when you're going to see whoever runs their business well, because the people that can handle their cash flows and everything like that, they're the ones that are going to survive. And then as other businesses die off, then that market share will, you know, naturally migrate to the businesses that can survive. Best place to buy CGCs is my website, celebrityheroes.com. But anyways, the other thing that makes me think about is, if you look at these guys behind me, right? These books behind me. These are the key issues behind me, right? You see right there. There's 3 ASM 300, 129, Giant Size X-Men 1. First appearance of Vision, I can't remember, Avengers 58, yeah? All these behind me, these are all key issues. Highly sought after, except for maybe that Secret Wars. I think that one's super undervalued. But you hear people that hoard coins, and they hoard, I don't really know of any about hoards like graded coins, but people are going to be using these for retirement, because they're going to be worth a lot of money in 20, 30 years, right? And it's actually what I'm basing my retirement on, because the movement, price fluctuations of these books behind me are very similar to stocks. And the key is, again, like, and I refer to some as blue chippers, right? Like Fantastic Four 48, 49, those I would consider blue chippers, because they're just going to grow, and they're going to grow exponentially, especially right now. Now they'll eventually hit a cap, plateau, whatever, and then you'll see market movement. But that's what all stocks do. That's what you get in emerging markets and things like that. You'll see this huge growth and a plateau as things kind of stabilize and correct. And you'll see that with these older books, silver and bronze age stuff. So that's the second reason why is there's going to be a market for not only these older grade books but new grade books, because people collect differently now. And you know me, I'll slab anything, right? Like if I think it'll sell, I'll slab it. And one thing that I've learned from having that attitude, it'll sell if you slab it. There's somebody out there that is a completionist, and if you're the only dude or gal that slab some really weird random book, that some fifth print of some book that nobody buys, there'll be at least one person out there that's a completionist that's a fan of the book that'll buy it. Um, and that's another game you can play. It's not one that I would recommend playing, but that just I'm just trying to prove a point as far as is how people collect these days. You can slab anything, man. Slab anything, like slab it. And more people, and I'm finding more people, and it's sorry, old people. It seems to be like more a lot of the younger crowd, demographics are doing it, and I think that's just their viewpoint of comic books, because they grew up watching the movies. They grew up not the same way as us old folks, right? Anybody that was born, I would say, I don't know, 1980, 1985 and earlier, maybe. We have a different view on comic books, because back then it was like, yeah, people collected them, but people mainly read them. So that's why I think you're gonna see people kind of doing the same thing I do. They're gonna be selling graded comic books. But it's just tricky. Like, to sell graded comic books, it's crazy. Especially guaranteed 9.8s from with new releases, where before you even have the book in hand, it's just takes a lot of. First off, it's a lot of risk, but second, it takes a lot of. You got to be able to press and get them everything, and get it to grade out. So anyway, that's basically my really long answer on why I don't think there's gonna be another crash. The short answer is it's a different market. It's just a different market these days than it was in the 90s. So yeah. Okay, yeah. So sales taxes. So I really don't sell a lot on eBay, right? Like I said, I sell mainly on my auctions, so I can't really say that my sales have been affected, because my auction sales are still the same. I don't think people, because here's what happens, right? So you go to buy it now on eBay, and this is where order of operations matters. So you go to buy it now on eBay. So you get a book, you're like, buy this book, it's $100, $10 shipping, cool, it's $110, but then you go to check it out, it's like it's $120 because of the tax now. Well, you clear your cart, right? Clear your cart. Just change my mind. I'm gonna find it somewhere else. But if it's an auction, people don't really pay attention to that, because after they win the auction and they've committed to the item, then they go to checkout and like, oh shit, that's right, we got to pay tax now. So then they just go ahead and say, I'm an American, I'll pay my taxes. So I think that's why. I think that's the main reason why my auctions really haven't seen. I still make about what I normally make. I've got a sales goal. I've got a goal every time I list slab comics, my 25 slab that I put up, or when I list my ungraded books that I put up. I have a sales goal in mind when I do that, but I haven't seen. I've been able to make my goals, unless people, you guys see me post, unless people back out of their auctions and then they're like, oh, start making excuses on things. So unless something like that happens, I still do pretty well. Which I haven't seen. It doesn't happen a lot where people back out like that. So yeah. So that's just my personal experience. Any other questions? I'm trying to scroll back. Sorry, I'm doing this because I'm trying to see if there's. Oh, my website. Yeah. So no, I don't. I'm not. I do my own website design. I'm not an official web designer, but I monkey with it, right? If you guys have been buying from me a while, you know it. Like what it looks like now is totally different than what it looked like even last month, because I changed it the weekend I was at Baltimore Comic Con. I decided to sit in, and instead of going to the show on Saturday, then I sat in and decided to instead of just work on a website. CBCS. I don't know anything about CBCS. Is it they're having a dinner event? I don't know. I mean, it might be good. I don't sell any CBCS books though. Actually, I tried to I tried to open up a dealer app or a dealer, dealer application with them one time, and it was just like they wanted me to jump through all these hoops and stuff. I was like, I'll just keep selling CGC. But I was pretty fed up with CGC at one point for that. Yeah, I like Natalie Sanders a lot. She's a good artist. Definitely a good book. I'm gonna have the Priya one. I like Lucia Priya too. I like the. Looks like that one looks like she looks like Margot Robbie on it. So yeah. Any I'm just trying to see, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, no. Selling commissions. Okay, so my personal experience, I'm not in like the comic art brokering business per se. I don't know, like a lot of artists already are represented by other people, and so when you take on like other artists and selling their commissions, you're kind of becoming like a their manager, or not a manager, but their agent. You know, you're like an agent for them, and so you have to go out and you got to scout the talent and build your agency and build your, like, if you look at these guys like Scott's Collectibles, that's a really good example. Great dudes. Like I use them a lot. They're great for facilitating autographs, buying original art, commissions, things like that. So you'll have companies like that. Scott's Collectibles is one. Comic Sketch Art's another one. All these guys, these top artists already have like representatives. So it's not really my thing to go in. I don't really want to go in and scout talent. Like I'm at conventions a lot, and it's definitely there is a business model for it for sure. And if you're good at it, it could be really lucrative. But I don't have the personality for it. I'm not and despite me being when I talk to a camera, I can talk to a camera because I see my own face. I'm not looking at other people. But me in a social setting, especially if you've come up to me, I can be awkward sometimes. I'm not the greatest like face-to-face person. But okay. Oh yes, thank you about the exclusives. Okay, so I didn't really like. My intention was not to talk about exclusives, but I like to talk about exclusives because they get a bad rap, and I'm gonna kind of just buckle up. I'm about to go into some economics here. And what exclusives represent and what their places is in the market and all that. So exclusive. So the regular, like, I'm gonna call it a value life cycle. It's not really like an actual term. I'm just kind of making this up to keep things simple. So like the value life cycle of an exclusive is usually like a retailer will set a price like. Let's use mine for example, right? What is it? My Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 100, the John Jang. You know, I'll put myself up here for the firing squad, right? I'll put one of my exclusives up here as an example. So the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 100 exclusive I did with John Jang. He so basically and there's different beasts, and I'm gonna go into this, but I'm gonna use this as my indie example, right? Because not all exclusives are created equal, because not all markets are created equal, because you got an indie market versus a DC market versus a Marvel market. Like the way I look at those, I look at them all as separate markets, because you got separate collectors in those markets. Like mainly, like me, if you look behind me, guess what I collect? Marvel. Like I'm a Marvel person, despite me wearing Umbrella Academy hat right now. But anyway, so with independents, independent exclusives actually probably have the best chance to return value and even gain equity on it, because first off, you've got super low print runs. Like indies, they'll give you the flexibility of, they'll say, okay, you got to do a minimum of 500 books. After that, we don't care. So that's what IDW does. That's like their policy. You got to do 500 books. It can be virgin, it can have trade dress, but it has to be 500 copies. And then you can do a second cover. You got to pay for a plate change and all that and the additional copies. but you can run, you know, like another 250 print run of like a virgin cover, or even if you want to do a lower run with a trade dress or whatever, you can do that too. So you got a lower print run to work with. Plus, there's like some really popular titles that tie in with pop culture, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Transformers, G.I. Joe, like all that tie into pop culture too now. So you got a pretty strong market on a pretty low print run. Now, you're not going to have the same demand really as Marvel or DC, but they make you buy way more books. So with the indies, so to kind of go back to where I started, so with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 100, so the price I have set for that is $24.99. Now, what do you first off, as a buyer, you want to, if you're in, like, people buy for what they like, either like the artist, they like the story, or they want to get it for the value, right? So if you're one of those value collectors, I would maybe steer away from exclusives, because, or even moderates in general, right? Unless you're looking to flip quickly, but that's not what those are for. So what the exclusives are for, first off, especially with independent artists, it will be able to feature an artist that the restrictions Marvel and DC both put on artists, like, is really hard. I can't just bring anybody, say, hey, I got this artist, I want to do a Marvel cover. Here's a sample work, and Marvel says no. They've got a set list. You know, if you've got an artist that you like to work with, if you've got an artist that you've worked with on independence, and they happen to be able to do they've been approved by Marvel to do their covers, then cool. But if not, Marvel won't listen to you. So with independence, you can get different artists, and those artists can heat up really quickly. And I think John Jiang, I think he's one of those potential artists where he's not yet, he does DCs, but he's not yet approved to do Marvel. And which is funny, because I think he actually works for another part of Marvel doing concept art. Or he used to. So it's kind of funny to see how these companies, like, even though he used to work for Marvel or did Marvel art at one point, he can't do comic book art. It just blows my mind. But he can do DC. But if you approach an independent with any artist, like, if I drew well enough, right, I could go to an independent and be like, I'd like to do this. I'd like to do a cover with my artwork. Here's my sample. And if they go, oh yeah, your stuff looks good, no problem. They'll at least look at it. But you know, if it's not good, then or if it's a style they don't like, not necessarily if it's not even good, because that's all subjective. I'll say if it's a style they don't like, then they'll say no, you can't use this artist or whatever. So you'll get that artist exposure for up and comers, and they may catch fire, and you'll have one of their earlier covers, and it might have a lot of value down the road. So that's another pro for indies to keep an eye out. So you'll see some different name on indies than you will on, like, Marvels and DCs. So that's your best, at least my opinion, it's your best lottery ticket, you know, to hit the lottery and get a book that's actually worth some money. But mainly exclusives are just for, first off, it's actually really good marketing for businesses, because what happens when a business does an exclusive with an artist, well, I've already got my customer base, right? My customers found me through commercial venues, either through like eBay or me selling stuff on Instagram, things like that. But if you get like an artist, and you like, for an example, this morning I shared something that I think it was Kale. I think it was him that shared it. I don't think it was that. It was either Kale or Alan. It was that mashup cover, that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Power Rangers mashup cover. He shared it, and what I've noticed, like, right after he shared it, I got a bunch of extra followers on Instagram. So it helps a lot with your marketing is a business, right? Because now you've got artists that are sharing your cover, or their cover that they're doing for your store, to their client base or to their fan base, and it's directing them towards you, and then you get a chance to make them a happy customer and get them to come back to you. So that's a huge advantage for retailers to do exclusives. So Marvel and DC. So let me move on to Marvel and DC because I'm a little bit more shy on those, especially as far as value, right? The thing with Marvel and DC, like the exclusives I collect, that I personally collect, I don't collect for value. There's certain artists that I just like to have, like Clayton Crane is one of them. Gabriel Delado is another one, and I don't care about the value. I'll buy the book. I'll slab it myself. I'm not gonna buy, from another store, a CGC, because I'll just get it and press it out and everything and submit it and slab myself. Yeah, let me get you with pressing disaster. I still have pressing disasters. Way less now because I've got systems built in, but I've changed the way I've done things. But every once in a while I get distracted by the kids while I'm trying to do pressing, and it's not good. But anyways, back to the exclusives. So with Marvel and DC, you're looking at a minimum of 3,000 books or 3,000 units. And that's just the buy-in for the regular trade dress cover. So that's why you always see retailers selling 3,000. Or if they have less than 3,000, they'll say, okay, I'm going to put a COA with it that says this is one of the copies that we decided to put into circulation, right? So what that does is that narrows down the supply to create more demand. Or it doesn't really create more demand, I would say, but it allows retailers to drive the price up because there's less. It's the balance, right? So if you're selling a 3,000 print run book, and even if and I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of times our retailers do this. When you order 3,000 books from Marvel, 1,000 of them are going to sell. At least 1,000 of them are going to be ones I wouldn't be comfortable sending out to you guys if you paid $10 to $15 to $20. What some of these prices of the trade dress covers are. For these exclusives, so that helps retailers not only mitigate some of those costs. So if we just cut out all those damaged books and say, okay, we're gonna circulate half of them, we know this print run sucks, or we expect it to suck, and plus it's another thing is if you sell 3,000 books, you got to ship 3,000 books, right? So it also helps with managing a workload as far as shipping goes. So these are all things if you're selling. Keep in mind with that. If you're buying, this is just why retailers do this sometimes. So that helps stabilize the value with the larger print runs, and then they usually have the virgins, and same reason you'll say 20 to 25% of the print run's going to be subpar. So you say like I did with my Absolute Carnage exclusive, I'm going to sell 650 of them. And actually, when I'm going through, it's actually higher than 30%. Like a lot of these Absolute Carnage books, they took some corner damage pretty easy, and they're pretty bad. So I've actually pitched quite a few of them. But the reason why those are so volatile is the print run. They'll come out, the exclusives will be hot, but with anything else comic book related, the money follows people's attention, right? So look where you're being directed by websites, and it doesn't even have to be retailer websites, right? It could be speculation websites. It could be even indies, Marvel, DC, just heavily promoting their books because they have to get your attention to buy the book, right? So that's just basic marketing. So and that's the same thing with any comic books, and that's why moderns, where they have that huge peak like Far Sector, right? Right before release, you got Monday comes around, people are buzzing about it, they're hearing about rumors of a first appearance or whatever's going to happen, and then the few that are on eBay sell out, the cheap ones sell out fast, and so you get people that are hip to the game, to the flip game. They either have a pull list or they're a retailer that ordered maybe 10 to 15 copies because they had a hunch on it and they just held them back. They'll throw them up on there, and then that's how that price starts going. Well, come Tuesday, and here's a tip, guys, and this is my insider tip to you, especially if you hung out and you've watched this thing for so long. I'm gonna give you the best piece of advice all night. if you want a hot comic and you missed the boat on it and it's a modern, Tuesday night. Get it Tuesday night, because that's the night on Tuesday days retailers all get their shipments. And most retailers, they're not in the flipping game. They just want to move product. So what they do is they start putting their stuff on there and undercutting those Monday night sales. So Tuesday, the flood start. What I call is the flood. So usually when a modern goes up, you start seeing buzz about it the week before, right? And then over the weekend it sells out. And then Monday it's up high. And then Tuesday it starts to kind of do this a little bit, right? Because you, like I said, you get the retailers, they get their orders in, they go, okay, I got my books in hand now. I'll list them now at whatever price. Some retailers, they'll list it at market price. Some retailers just want to sell the book, like I said, and they'll list it below, I'm not going to say below market price, but at retail, I should say. It'll either be $3.99, $4.99, $5.99, depending on where the books is. So that drives the price down. Speculators will mass buy them. Like if you get a store that'll list 15, then you'll get a speculator that'll buy it out, and then and so you get this tug of war going on between the market's hunger and the hand that's feeding the market, right? So, but Tuesday night, that's when that battle happens. So Tuesday night, keep an eye on eBay, see what the hot books are doing, see where they're priced at, see what you need to stand in line for, get to your LCS early for, or like I said, I will price my stuff at retail. The only time I ever really drive prices up, because I don't like the limit, I will just use what pricing is used for, and I will raise the price for the people that really want the book. But I'm not gonna like try to do like forecasting or like futures. Like I think this is gonna be worth $15 in a week, and then I don't do all that. I just price it. I just adjust the price enough to discourage flippers from buying everything out, but to keep it fair enough for everybody to still be able to afford it. But yeah, but you can see what's going on Tuesday night. So that's just a good piece of information. I don't even know what I'm talking about now, but I went on a tangent on this, and I forgot to talk about it because I really wanted to share it in the Tuesday tidbit with you. Also, my comic shop throws up their stuff on Tuesday night too, so you can always grab it from mycomicshop.com at cover price. And then they actually do a midnight reload for people that are like West Coast or something. I don't know, because I always wake up in the morning and my wish list is like, you've got such and such item on your wish list now. So I know that they do like some kind of restocking. I don't know, but if you want to stay up in the middle of the night through the night and hit refresh on stuff to try to get a hot book to flip, then that's how you want to spend your time, and that's fine. You can do that. But yeah, for Tuesday nights. I'm going to see some more couple questions. So just to go back. So Marvel, but if you're going to buy Marvels and DC exclusives, just buy it because, don't expect to get a lot of value out of it. Just buy it because you like the artist, you like the story, for whatever reason other than value. No, I'll probably not get a CBCS vendor account. Like I said, I tried. I didn't feel like going through the hoops they wanted me to jump through. It was a lot, and I'm still like about CBCS. So I don't know if I want to, change my strategy and use them or whatever. All right, I've got the 2-minute warning on this thing. So, pressing disaster. Oh yeah, so pressing disaster. It just happens, man. Like that was really bad about like at first, like when I press, I'd turn the heat on, and I would shut the lid, and I wouldn't turn the heat off. And I'd go and do stuff for like an hour and come back and just like cook books and things like that. Or you learn early what not to do. It's pretty easy. And that same thing with like turning the heat up too high on books, where it's just like the books turn into like they're like solid rocks, you know what I'm talking about? You could like throw them at something and probably like chuck it at the wall like a ninja star, right? And probably like stick in the drywall because they're like so hard from the heat being pressed together. But yeah, I mean, I've done stuff like that, and then like the pages stick together. But those are all rookie mistakes. I don't do those anymore. The only thing I really do these days, and it's not like really the worst thing in the world, but sometimes I'll leave books a little bit too long in my humidor chamber, because I'll put them in there and I'll go upstairs to grab something, and then like the kids will be up there doing something. I'll get distracted and play with the kids for like a minute. I'm like, oh, gotta go downstairs to get the books out of there and throw them in the press. But it really doesn't, like with the way I use the humidifier, it doesn't really hurt it. But I got 20 seconds, so I'm gonna wrap this thing up. The speech music's playing like if I'm at the Emmys or whatever it is. So I got 10 seconds. Thanks for hanging out. Definitely, hopefully I made it worth your time, gave you some good information, and I will see y'all later.